Okay, so we're going to be talking about some of the medical practices that come out of Asia. Specifically, we're going to take a look at Chinese medicine, and then we'll take a brief look at Ayurvedic medicine, which comes out of India. So the three main forms of, or the three largest, I guess, branches of medicine that came out of Asia came from China, India, and Tibet. Tibetan medicine was also considered one of the largest three forms of medicine. But keep in mind that these medical practices, um, there are a lot of similarities between Chinese and Tibetan and Indian medicine, but they are all unique as well. And then, in addition to that, throughout all of Asia, everybody had their own unique practices. So it doesn't matter if you're talking about Thailand or Vietnam or Japan, they all kind of have some type of their own type of energetic medical practices that they use. So we have the most information from China and India, so that's what we're going to be focusing on. So again, 5,000 years ago, something about 5,000 years ago. I don't know what happened back then, but that's where a lot of these medical practices seem to have started. Um, China was not really a unified country, back then. So there was no standard language. It was just like it was just Asia essentially. So there's a lot of different forms of what we now think of as Chinese medicine. And the idea of the barefoot doctor was that every village had their own uh, medical specialist that would stop by everybody's house on a regular basis. And the idea was to keep them healthy. If they got sick, payment was withheld. So the whole idea behind Chinese medicine, at least in its roots, was in the prevention of disease. And it's proper nutrition, regular exercise, and stress management techniques, meditation, things like that. So, although the medical practices had their roots in shamanism and spirituality, um, a lot of these practices were banned when the communists took over. So, in the 1970s, the U.S. started to get very interested in a lot of different things, Chinese, including Chinese medicine. So, the communist Chinese government kind of packaged up a medical system, and they called it traditional Chinese medicine. Because of its affiliation with the Chinese government, the communists, a lot of people kind of try to distance themselves from TCM, and they'll call what they do, Korean acupuncture or something, whatever, Japanese acupuncture, or whatever. So TCM is a very efficient system. It's what is used in a lot of the medical hospitals, things like that. So it is very efficient. Some people might argue that it doesn't have its roots that some of the other in spirituality that some of the other things have. So this whole thing is based in Taoism. It's spelled with a T, but it's pronounced with a D. Taoism. It's a Chinese philosophy, and it's the energy in the universe, and it's in two opposing complementary forms, yin and yang. So the yin is the female, dark, wet energy, soft, negative. Not negative that it's bad, but negative as far as like from an electrical standpoint. And then yang is male, bright, dry, sun. Um, so the idea behind Chinese medicine is to find a balance between the yin and the yang. And we saw when we looked at those the meridians that the meridians are some of the meridians are yin and the other ones are yang. And that's part of how they balance out the yin and yang is through the meridians. Um, the four examinations. So obviously they didn't have the diagnostic equipment that we have now. So they had to rely on just doing a full physical assessment, including looking, just doing a general scan of the patient's appearance, um, their physical shape, how muscular or muscle tone, how much extra fat, um, their posture, things like that, their facial color. There's a whole thing in tongue diagnosis for Chinese medicine. If you Google tongue diagnosis, you'll see all these different examples of how your tongue is going to look when you're undergoing certain health conditions. And like if you have a cold, you'll notice that there's like a white kind of coating on your tongue, things like that. So that's kind of interesting. And then actually bodily secretions. They apparently can tell quite a bit from your urine and your fecal matter if they choose to look at it. I've never had an acupuncturist ask me for my bodily secretions. I should say that up front. So listening and smelling, apparently they're the same words in Chinese. Uh, Listen to the person's voice. Do they speak clearly, or is it like a raspy voice? If an indication of a lung issue. Some people have body odors, and you stereotypical odor, like the old person odor. Sometimes some old people have a certain specific odor, but just sometimes even when they're doing acupuncture treatment, sometimes the body will release certain odors. And then of course, asking. So almost every time I've gone to an acupuncturist, especially a new acupuncturist, they spend like the first hour or 90 minutes even just asking you questions about your health and your overall state of being, as compared to typically in Western medicine, they talk to you for about 5 to 7 minutes before they write a prescription. So um, they try and assess all aspects of your personality and your total health. And then touching, they'll actually what they call palpate. They'll just feel the meridians that just with their fingers, and they'll just feel if the meridians have a different feeling. They do a very extensive pulse diagnosis, and they do it in Indian medicine as well. It takes like 10 to 15 minutes to take the pulse because it's not just how many beats per minute, but apparently they can do an energetic analysis with the pulse. And of course, I've talked about energy already. They call it, of course, qi in Chinese medicine, ki in Japan, and then we talked about all the different types. What I would suggest, I'll try and post a video for moxibustion. It's pretty interesting, and I'll post some videos for acupuncture too. Moxibustion is actually pretty interesting. It feels really good. I'll post some videos so you can understand exactly what it is. And then I think there's a lot of research that's been done to back up acupuncture. I posted the reading about the Air Force is using it. One of the most conservative groups in the world is now using acupuncture. It's because it's been pretty heavily backed up by research. And the most significant part of that research is that acupuncture is really one small part of all of Chinese medicine. And the real focus of Chinese medicine is things like Tai Chi and Qigong and martial arts. And these are exercises that you build up your strength, your energy, your Qi, so that you don't get sick in the first place. And that's really the whole idea. You use acupuncture generally when you're not taking good enough care of yourself and you end up getting sick. So I used to use acupuncture, because a lot of times I overdo it with exercise or some other thing. So again, Qigong, it's a wonderful thing. I'll post some videos about Qigong. I should practice it more. I should practice it every day, but I'm one of those types of people that has difficulty sitting down and meditating. I need to move when I meditate, so Qigong is perfect for me. It's basically, they call it Chinese yoga. Um, Again, acupuncture. I'll post some videos about acupuncture. Um, Again, 12 major meridians, and then there's a bunch of minor meridians as well. Sometimes they'll hook up the needles to like a little battery. It looks like almost like a little car battery, and they'll pulse electricity through the needle, and it's supposed to stimulate the energy movement even more. So sometimes they'll do that, or they'll put some moxa. It's called mugwort. It's an herb. They'll put it on the end of the needle, and then they'll burn it, and the needle will get hot, and it'll just add extra heat into your acupuncture point. Um, Again, great for pain, any type of pain management. The first thing I would recommend is acupuncture. Um, Other than that, it may be effective. The Air Force is using it for pain management, and it kind of makes sense. They talk about it in the article. If you have a choice between giving someone an opiate that's going to knock them out, or putting some acupuncture needles in their ear, and which would allow them to continue servicing, then I think that's why they're going for the acupuncture. There really is no health issues associated adverse effects. They reuse needles, or they used to reuse needles. They do not do that anymore. That was really the main concern. And then we talked about massage already last week. Any type of chi massage, shiatsu or Thai yoga massage, whatever, it also feels wonderful. A lot of people will get massage when there's nothing wrong, when they feel perfectly healthy. Um, and then usually they get acupuncture when something's going on. So, there was no Cartesian split in China there was in our country, or in Europe, I guess I should say. So they still have a very strong, that split between science and art and spirituality isn't as strong as it is here. They tend to see these things as pieces of a larger puzzle. So they're not so quick to dismiss spiritual influences on health. And not only that, but some of the words that they use tend to be very poetic, or the phrasing, I guess I should say, is kind of, and these are actual uh, diagnosis in acupuncture: liver fire blazing upward and wind invading the spleen. They talk a lot about wind and heat and cold invading the spleen or invading the lungs, things like that. So this is kind of this kind of says it all about Chinese medicine. Maintaining order rather than correcting disorder is the ultimate principle of wisdom. To cure disease after it has appeared is like digging a well when one already feels thirsty, or forging weapons after the war has begun. So that was written, over 2,000 years ago. So again, I'm going to post a movie about acupuncture, so you're going to, or Chinese medicine rather, so you're going to watch a little bit more about that. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit briefly about Ayurvedic medicine. So again, Ayurvedic medicine comes out of India. Sometimes they refer to it as the science of life or the knowledge of life. It's considered to be the sister science to yoga. Again, I don't know why we keep seeing 5,000 years, but something happened 5,000 years ago. So so yoga practitioners will work with Ayurvedic practitioners, and they'll work together to help patients out. Oftentimes, yoga practitioners are also Ayurvedic experts. So yoga is more the exercise part, and Ayurvedic is more like the medicine part of it, especially the herbs. And it's just about how to use a healthy diet and herbal formulas to take care of a lot of different things. They do a lot of detoxification. So, excuse me, it's considered an expert, a form of one of the main forms of expertise for Ayurvedic medicine is detoxification. So there are some, a lot of the detoxification. I typically, we kind of ran out of time for this course. I typically do a whole lecture on detoxification, but some of the signs for the need of detox: allergies, hay fever, asthma, breast tenderness, swelling, or especially around the joints, painful menstruation, PMS, joint pain, headaches, all migraines, all this kind of stuff could be a symptom of detox that you need to detoxify. The best way to detoxify is stop putting toxins into your body. As long as you do that, your liver will do a pretty good job of detoxifying. There are probably some other things that you can do as well, but just stop putting toxins into your body. Don't smoke. Limit alcohol consumption. Don't use drugs. Limit pharmaceuticals, and just be careful about environmental exposures. So they have a seasonal diet, and I think I try to do this myself just because I get so much food from the farm. But there's certain foods that you're supposed to eat during different times of the year, and in our lifestyles we have all the same food pretty much all year round available to us. They'll talk more about the Ayurvedic principles in the movie, the three doshas, they call them: Kapha, Pitta, and Vata. And there's just like different body types, some or Vata body types, and then they have recommendations that they'll have for to balance out the Vata body type. And honestly, a lot of the recommendations are pretty similar. A daily sesame oil massage. I do give myself a regular massage. I don't use sesame oil though. I probably should. Regular meals. I don't think that's a big deal. Meditation, exercise, regular sleep patterns. Avoid stimulants, excessive travel. I don't think this is anything that we haven't seen already. So Pitta types, the summer types, some of their explanations, and then how to balance them out. And then the Kapha types, the spring types. So if you Google dosha type, I'll try and find an Ayurvedic test actually, and you can take it for fun. You don't have to take it if you choose not to. But it'll tell you, kind of like the chakra balancing type or the chakra type, it'll tell you it's kind of the same idea. So beneficial daily routines. This would be great if you could do these every day if you have time. Not everybody does. One big thing in Ayurvedic medicine is that they recommend that you go to bed at 10 p.m. and you wake up at 6 p.m. That you try to stick to that schedule as much as possible, because that's when our body goes through its natural detoxification schedule. So try to stick to that 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'll be honest, I don't usually. I'm more like a 12 to 6 or 12 to 7. Wake up in the morning, get up before the sun rises, hopefully 6 o'clock or so. Drink a full glass of room temperature water. Temperature is kind of important in Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine. The temperature of the food, the temperature of the beverages that you drink, even the temperature of the water, if it's too cold, can impact your kidney functioning. Uh, I'll post some videos about cleaning nasal passages and tongue scraping. This all comes from Ayurvedic medicine. It's kind of interesting stuff. Like of course, they recommend that you practice yoga daily. You're supposed to do all this, by the way, in the morning, every morning. Have a warm shower or bath. They do a lot of skin brushing. They're not big on chemical soaps and things like that. They prefer that you do everything natural. And then, of course, have a nice, relaxing, complete meal at lunchtime, 11 a.m. to sometime between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Europeans eat about 60% of their calories at lunchtime, and that's a big thing in Ayurvedic medicine as well. So that may be something to consider. Relax for 30 minutes following lunch. It would be wonderful if you could actually do this. I don't know anybody whose lifestyle is conducive to this type of full-on relaxing behavior, but it would be great to be able to do all this, I think. And I think that last one, everybody pretty much recommends that. Don't, eat dinner between 5 to 7, and then don't eat anything at all before you go to bed. Have some water if you need to, some herbal tea to help you relax. So some more information will be available in the other two movies that we're going to watch. Okay, hope this helped.